What's going on, everybody? I'm Jiffy Nano, and in this video I'm going to showcase one of the easiest Moze builds to get put together that can do anything in the game, including soloing with Takedown. If you want to see more builds, guides, and other shooter and looter related things, be sure to subscribe and click that bell because I plan on covering a bunch of games this year and you won't want to miss anything. To preface this build, I started making this before we knew about the level cap increase. Not to worry though, because with it only being a level cap increase of 3, the only things you have to worry about is weapons. 3 extra levels on weapons result in a power increase of about 30%, but on artifacts and class mods the power increase is only 3%. Not really worth farming in my opinion. So keep your god rolled class mods and artifacts, they're still really good, focus on getting weapons. But when I started brainstorming this build, I wanted to avoid using weapons like the Kib's Worth and the Redistributor because they're from the Takedown. A lot of Moze builds out there call for weapons and gear like these, and when I see that, my first thought is how the hell are people supposed to get these weapons from the Takedown if they're not equipped to do the Takedown already? I get that myself and all other content creators are a minority when it comes to doing the Takedown solo, especially on Mayhem 4. And players exist out there that aren't able to do it even with the scaling, and that's fine. It's not an easy activity, and Mayhem 4 is effing hard. So I see a lot of complaints about god rolls and stuff too being used on Mayhem 4 builds, but if you want to deal consistent high damage in Mayhem 4, you kind of have to have these god rolls and anointments. That being said, nothing in this build is from the Takedown on purpose, and it revolves around all the items being pretty easy to obtain and not having specific anointments for players just trying to do the Takedown on Mayhem 2 or 3. But later on in the video I'll be including a segment that explains what you need to have to use this build on Mayhem 4. So let's get right into the skill overview. As you can see, we are going all the way down the Demolition Woman tree and then grabbing some shield buffs from the Shield of Retribution tree, and yes, that means we will be reloading. No unlimited ammo here, which I know is kind of odd for Moze builds. For our action skill, we have the grenade launchers with target softening on both sides. We're only using iron bearers and oh shit button or for debuffing enemies. And right into the Demolition Woman tree, we have 5 points into fire in the Skag Den. We will be doing a lot of splash damage, so that 50% incendiary is pretty nice. Maxed out means of destruction. If you play Moze a lot, you know this skill, but if you don't, this skill has a chance to regen ammo and grenades when dealing splash damage. We're going to be doing a lot of splash damage, so we should be getting grenades and ammo back pretty often. 5 points into Stainless Steel Bear. For whatever reason, Iron Bear damage directly increases the damage dealt by Short Fuse, so the damage increase from this will bring Short Fuse up from 75 to over 100. 1 into Auto Bear. If you hop out of Iron Bear, it stays on the field shooting enemies and eventually blows up. This is cool for continually hitting enemies with target softening, and I'm pretty sure he also procs Means of Destruction. Maxed out Pull the Holy Pin. This gives your grenades a chance to crit, and it's usually used in conjunction with Redistribution, but here it's just for extra damage. Maxed out Vampire. This is a super important skill because it's Moze's only means of consistent healing. So yes, we will be spamming grenades for heals in classic Moze fashion. 1 point into To the Last. This lets you throw grenades and fight for your life. 3 points into Explosive Punctuation. This reduces your action skill cooldown when dealing splash damage. It lets you use your Iron Bearer to proc anointments and target softening more often. And last, Short Fuse. This gives you a 20% chance to deal bonus explosive damage when dealing gun damage. That's it for the Demolition Woman tree, so on to the Shield of Retribution tree. 5 points into Armored Infantry. This gives you more gun damage and damage reduction when your shields are active. With this build, you're going to have your shields active all the time, so you're going to have this all the time. 5 into Vlad Ingenuity. This gives you 47% shock resistance and 30% max shield capacity. Max out Drowning in Brass, which is a kill skill that can give you a bonus of up to 60% gun damage. And 3 points into Thin Red Line. This skill takes 60% of your max health and turns it into max shields. This skill paired with a front loader shield or the Deathless artifact leaves you with 1 HP and a massive shield, which synergizes perfectly with Desperate Measures. 3 points in here gives you 60% gun damage depending on how low your health is. At 1 HP, we're always getting this bonus, plus the class mod you want will be giving bonus points into this, and you can get up to 3, bumping that to 100% gun damage. And the last 3 points I put into Experimental Munitions for the damage, and Forced Feedback and Full Can of Whoop-Ass, so we can pretty much always have our shields up. So, on to the gear. A lot of this is still going to be level 50 instead of 53. I'll try to update the save file with on-level gear as I get it, but in the meantime, level 50 stuff should be fine for Mayhem 3 and below. And like I said, focus on getting weapons, because class mods and artifacts should be fine at level 50 regardless. Before we get to my weapons, let's go over my class mod, shield, and artifact combos. So for Mayhem 3 and below, I was using this Bloodletter. It's not a good Bloodletter, but what you want for this thing is 3 in Desperate Measures and 2 in Thin Red Line. That way, you always have 1 HP, even when you're not using a Deathless or a front loader. And as far as passives, you really want splash damage, gun damage, Maliwan damage, anything that gives you damage can help. For Mayhem 4 and below, for the Takedown, I use the Transformer Shield. There is so much elemental damage being thrown around in these fights, being immune to shock is invaluable. Any other time I use the Big Boom Blaster, which has a chance to drop boosters that give you 60% shields, grenades, and rocket ammo upon pickup. Since the boosters auto pickup now, you'll almost always be max grenades. For my artifact in Mayhem 3, I used a Grave. This has a chance to drop from Grave Ward and gives you bonuses based on how low your HP is. Since we're always at 1 HP, we get them all the time. gives us 100% melee damage, 20% gun damage, and 50% splash damage. And while the melee damage isn't super useful, the gun and splash damage is pretty nice. This artifact also can't have a prefix, so no worries about if it's elemental projector or not. Now for the weapons I used in both Mayhem 3 and 4. The Ion Laser. This thing is super strong on Mayhem 4, dealing solid damage with the beam, and if you hold the trigger for a few seconds, when you let go, it fires up to 6 orbs that deal splash damage. But if you pulse the trigger instead of just letting go, you can get up to 3 bursts of these orbs for some serious burst damage. I had these orbs dealing 50 to 100k damage each, so in theory, 3 bursts can deal almost 2 million damage. In practice, not so much, but it's still some serious damage. In Mayhem 3 and below, this thing just melts without even trying, so go get one. It's dropped by the evil St. Lawrence, which spawns in the market district of the Spendocticon in Moxie's Heist on the Handsome Jackpot DLC. I also have Shock and Corrosive Cutsmans. These dish out a lot of elemental damage each, and each tick of damage they deal can proc a short fuse explosion. And I also have a Wester Gun. The Wester Gun is just a Maliwan SMG that shoots orbs that kind of splash damage. It's a pretty solid replacement for the Kibsworth. And lastly, the Grenade. So any Atlas tracker with homing or at least one MIRV will work. These are purple grenades and they're a bit difficult to farm, but if you go to a boss arena, the ammo machine is pretty close, and just check all the purple items. The idea here is you want a grenade that tracks and splits into multiple. The more splits you can get, the better, and bouncing is also good. So for the stuff I used in Mayhem 4, I have an absolutely god-rolled Bloodletter with splash damage and gun damage, and a Cloning Maddening tracker with 25% bonus damage on grenade throw. Ideally, you also want an Anointed Transformer with 50% elemental damage on action skill end. This is not needed, but more damage is useful. I also had an Ion Laser with the 160% increased splash damage after exiting Iron Bear. That thing did some work, but I actually used only 2 Ion Lasers to go through the entire takedown on Mayhem 4, and the one that I used to kill Wotan was actually a different one that had corrosive damage. So these seriously do some work. Go get some Ion Lasers. They're probably one of the best guns in the game, and like I've made a couple videos at this point talking about them, so go get it. Go get one. So let me know what you think of the build in the comments, and feel free to suggest other build ideas. If you are on PC and want to give this build a shot, or just want the items on the character, my save file will be in my Discord, link in the description. For all you console players out there, I hope these items are easy enough to get, and good luck. If you enjoyed the video or found it informative, consider subscribing and hitting the like button. Now, if you want to see short guides on how to get some of the gear in this build, check out my playlist right here. And if you want to see a melee build that completely destroyed the takedown of Mayhem 4, check out the other one here on the left. If you want to be part of the build process, check out my Twitch channel. Link is in the description. I stream every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. I've been playing a lot of Borderlands. I'm super excited for the updates coming out. And thanks for watching. Y'all are badasses, and I'll see you guys in the next one.